Alright guys, so me and Johnny bought another little fun toy today. Not today, we bought it yesterday, but we put a... Oh yeah, he went really late at night. And he pranked me saying he got robbed, but he didn't. We got a new tube in the rear tire. We fixed that up, and the rear brakes needed a little work, so we fixed that up as well. It needed a screw here, and then this one needed a little nut here because this is not an OEM spring, but they work just fine, just like new. Front brakes work, back brake works. There's literally nothing wrong with this bike. It's gonna be an easy flip, and we are gonna have some fun while we have it. So we're gonna wash it up and post it up in the internet as soon as we're done. So let's get started. We finished it. This is how it looks at the end. Super clean. Ready to sail?
Money line, boy.
That's that money line gonna be ringing, boys. All right, see you guys in the next little clip. Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're gonna be working on another 400 EX. This one's a 2003. It's gonna need some rear brake work, some front brake work. It smokes a little, but it starts right up, so probably not gonna need to adjust the valves. But I think it's smoking because of the valve seals. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that out and take that apart, and yeah, that's about it. I mean, this one here, it's been posted up for like 2 or 3 days. They probably take about a week to get out of my hands, but they go by pretty quick, so I'm not too worried or too desperate or anything. So let's go ahead and start this. All right, so I go ahead and start by installing a new clutch lever and a clutch cable, routing all that up, then going ahead and tightening up that clutch cable where it's nice and tight. Then I move on to the front brake calipers. So I start by doing the left one, but they're both about this in the same conditions. They're both pretty rough, as I will tell you guys in the video. Check out what I'm talking about, guys. It's pretty ugly stuff. You can almost see the brake pad, just like the piston of the pad just like coming through the brake pad. This is almost how it's supposed to look with brake pad, but geez, man, this is stuck in there.
It's worn down the plate that the brake goes on.
Oh god, that's terrible. Check it out, y'all. Look at that. It's almost paper thin. They probably never switched the freaking pads on this thing when they had it or owned it. Whoever owned it. Because the tires were hard to take off, and it's just the pads. Just look at that. That's terrible. Alright, y'all. So, my boy Jackson, once again, it's not raining, and he got a flat tire. So, me and Johnny boy are gonna go rescue him again. So, I guess we'll see you boys when we get there. Alright, day number 6. Looks like he's going to Hawaii, boy. Been on this trip. Tire number 2 already. Well, let's change it, I guess. Alright guys, so I got all the parts I needed in today for the yellow TRX 400EX. I've got the rear master cylinder, the whole top end gasket kit, the front master cylinder, and piston rings, and the set of brake pads for rear brakes and front brakes. So I've got it all torn down from over here. I took off the gas tank, took off the air box, took off the carburetor, and I took that off because I put it on my personal 400EX because I was having carb issues with that one, so I just took this one off and popped it right on that one, and yeah, so now mine's running really good, but I am gonna have to order a new carburetor for this one. So with that said, let's go ahead and get this bad boy started. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with fixing the front brakes first, because I think it'd be the easiest thing to do first. I want to get all 4 tires back on, or the front 2 tires back on, and then go ahead and start deassembling the engine, so I can have a peace of mind that both brakes work, front and back. So I'm gonna go front brakes, back brakes, top end. So let's go ahead and get started, guys.
Alright, so I begin by taking off the front master cylinder line bolt, and then I just completely remove the master cylinder with the lever, since I am going to be installing a complete assembly here. I am putting the little cheap one. I think it costed me like 14 bucks on eBay, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't really like to put expensive parts on bikes that I'm going to sell, unless I'm going to keep them. For me, I put nice, good parts on mine, but still, I guess everyone would understand why. And then just go ahead and put that thing, the bolt back in there correctly. Screw it down nice and tight. And this is just the easy part here. The fun part begins when I have to start bleeding them and stuff, but I'll show you guys how to bleed the front, and then we can skip the back, because it's really basic stuff. I just take the cap off here on this one, so I can go ahead and put that .4 on there as I'm pumping it up. Make sure you guys use .4. I haven't seen any bike that I've worked on use .3. Supposedly .3 gets more water into your system, making your master cylinder not work and pump right, because it gets water in it. So here I'm just bleeding one of the calipers, and as I bleed it, I am pumping the lever. So first you pump a couple times, hold the lever in tight, and you should see liquid coming out of the caliper there. So you want to do that a couple times. Go ahead and hold the pump, untighten it, and then close it back up as you see liquid. You might have to do that a couple times. And here, this is just me putting the brake pads on, the new fresh brake pads. Made sure that the piston goes in and out, so that's really good. I was thinking I might have to buy new calipers on this one, but luckily they do work fine after all that torture they went through. They still actually work. Why? Because it's a Honda. And then I just go ahead and start reinstalling the whole caliper back into the rotor. Gotta put all those bolts back in there nice and tight. I really like the ratchet noise. It's pretty satisfying, if you ask me. Putting your little cap there so that liquid goes away. Just tying that down nice and tight. Alright, then I went ahead and started installing these tires and wheels. It's always good to go crisscross pattern. It's a good habit to get into, so you can tighten all the nuts in at the same time, rather than tightening one complete side. And then it's just basically to make sure that all the nuts are nice and even when you're tightening them down. So just something to keep in mind when you're putting on your tires. And that does it for the front brakes. Now, I did have trouble taking off these little Allen bolts here in the rear brake master cylinder, so I went ahead and got a Dremel and converted them into flatheads. This is not the first time I've done this, as you guys can obviously see. So as you can see in the video, I turn them into flatheads here, but the bottom one didn't want to come out. The top one came out pretty smoothly, but the bottom one did not want to come out as hard as I tried. I tried taking it out with a chisel. I tried even heating it up, and I ended up just completely dremeling out the head of the bolt, and then taking the rest out with some pliers and just that's how I had to do it. It was stressful, but had to get it done somehow. And then I reconnected it because I forgot to take off that the line bolt. So that was probably the most difficult part in the whole brake bleeding and brake, I guess, revive. So other than that, I got the caliper back on and everything started working really nice. I bleeded it and it worked perfectly. I thought the back brake was not going to work as well, but it actually did work pretty nice. It works better than the front brakes, to be honest. So I just went ahead and tightened that up, and it's literally the same process as the front. You plug up your bolt here, pump it a couple times. You might need someone to pump it for you because it's kind of hard to reach if you do yourself, but you just pump it, hold it, and open that little nipple in the back of the caliper, and basically just like I said, the same process as you did with as I showed you with the front brakes. So I went ahead and put 10mm bolts on it. Probably saved some time and headaches for the next person who ends up buying this bike. So it's a pretty nice little new master cylinder I bought there. It's Nissan. I think this is aftermarket Chinese, but it works pretty good. It actually cost me $40. I'm not sure if that's the same brand as OEM. Actually, it sounds pretty similar, but I would have to double check on that. I think it might be though, but yeah, really nice master cylinder for it. That's probably why they work so better than the front ones. So we start removing the exhaust system. We take off the muffler itself. I have got 2 bolts on this one. This is an aftermarket exhaust. And then you've got the bolt that tightens up the exhaust slip to the pipe. And then just slide that off, and then remove these 4 bolts here. They're 12mm most of the time, and sometimes they come off with the whole stud, so don't get scared if that happens. And I did break a stud on this one, and I'm going to be removing it later on in the video. And then you just want to go ahead and wiggle the whole pipe off. That's my brother starting a bike in the background, and just pretty easy stuff. Just remove that one, try to wiggle it out of the frame, and it's out. Then we go ahead and move on to removing the engine, and the first thing you would do is remove this long bolt here, and remove that with the 2 little spacers there. Then go ahead and unplug your oil line that goes from the top of your engine, and your spark plug. Go ahead and get your spark plug out as well. I didn't record that. And then you want to move on by getting all these 8mm bolts off from on top of your cylinder head. Just go ahead and get all of those off. I think there's a total of 8 of them, and then there's that one big 12mm on top. So it does take a little work. Be very, very careful with those. They break pretty easy. Alright, so once you've got that cap off, you want to take off the side starter little Allen things here, and make sure you get your O-rings as well, because there's little O-rings that come off with them. And then get yourself a nice little, it's 17mm, and then there's going to be a little T mark where you're going to want to leave that line there to match up with that other one, because that means your top dead center. Make sure all your cam lobes are down, and you can see all those little circles there. And your little sprocket is never going to be even. That's because you've got the cam tensioner in the back, so don't worry about that. But that's how it's supposed to look whenever you put it back on. So now you move on to removing the cam tensioner right there. 2mm, 8mm bolts, pretty easy. Just go ahead and take both of those bolts off, and then remove the sprocket bolts that are holding your sprocket onto your cam shaft. Rotate it a little bit, remove one, and then rotate it again to remove the other. And then I just like to go back to top dead center once I'm done, so I can make sure my piston's all the way up. And go ahead and remove the bearings from your camshaft first, and you'll be able to lift it up and just go ahead and remove those bearings, and you should be able to remove it once you take the sprocket off of it. Go ahead and then remove your sprocket, and then go ahead and put something to hold that chain, because if you don't hold that chain, it could just fall straight through the engine, and it could lose tension from the gear at the bottom. So just good to have something to hold it. And then just go ahead and take off all 4 bolts that hold that that part of the engine. It's going to be four 14mm bolts, and they do have washers, so be very careful with the one I'm working on there, because it can fall down to your transmission. Got it off, just lift it up and it should come right off of the engine. Make sure someone's holding that other the cam chain, and then go ahead and remove these 2 8mm bolts from the right side of your engine that hold down the actual cylinder bore and piston. Take those off, very careful because they do strip, and then go ahead and move on to the 4, I think they're 12mm bolts if I'm not mistaken. Go ahead and remove all 4 of those, and they do have washers as well, so be careful with those as well. Make sure you take the bolts off and the washers off. Remove these nails here, and you can remove your piston bore out, and then you can just go ahead and start taking apart your piston. I found out that this bore had scratches, so I ordered a new one, and that's the reason it was smoking. So I go ahead and start replacing all those little stems you see me pulling in here, and then I end up taking the piston out as well to replace that, and taking out the left and right piston clip and pin that's holding it to the crankshaft. And after you do this, you can just basically reverse the process, and you should be good to go on your new top end. Remove the pin clip on there and just clean your gaskets real good and make sure everything's at top dead center, and you should be good to go.
Alright guys, we fixed the rebuilder broker in. That's a Johnny boy riding her. Yes sir. She's riding like a champ. Check her out. Oh yeah. No, I know I didn't show you guys how to break her in or anything, but just break her in real good. Don't ride her in 5th gear, but don't rev it so hard. But we already did that. Now we're riding the piss out of it. We went through about a full gas tank on it. Woo. Oh yeah, boy! Give it to her, boy! Give it to her! Woo! Oh! Oh! Oh, you almost hit that post. What do you think? She riding good? Well, thank you guys for watching my video. Go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, share, and see you guys next time.